Growing up in a place where you can be outdoors almost 12 months of the year. I always loved nature. I always loved science. I was very motivated by the environment and always intrigued by the ability to use science to make the world better. From the start, I went into science with the idea to make things cleaner.
People are always looking for what they can do to help reduce climate change.
Most companies, they take something, they make something, they waste it. And we think take, make, and remake is prudent. And with the diminishing world resources, why not think that way? Good planets are hard to find, right?
All across America, innovators are looking at how to conserve our natural resources to offset negative impacts to the climate and to our health. Right now, extraction and processing of natural resources like food crops and lumber, fossil fuels, metals, and minerals make up 1/2 of all global greenhouse gas emissions and 1/3 of health-impacting pollution.
We need to design better. We need to design out waste. And then what we have that's going to landfill, we need to divert that and keep upcycling or reusing it or recycling. The circular economy. The easiest way to describe it is like a forest. There's zero waste in a forest. Everything works symbiotically.
If you look at nature, you have a tree that's creating shade, or let's say some ground cover. And that ground cover may in turn be fixing nitrogen into the soil, which is feeding the tree, which is growing bigger and producing more leaves, and the leaves are falling off and composting and providing nutrients for the ground cover, which is in turn being fixed back in the soil. It's just a beautiful, sustainable community.
My big dream is to take something that comes from nature, use it over its lifetime, and in the end, return it 100% to nature.
Sustainability for us is about teamwork, working together to solve a problem that we couldn't solve as individuals. Finding out, for instance, waste streams that we have and trying to figure out how we can capture them and use them for some other purpose. And we can't do that alone.
And luckily, we won't have to. Everywhere you look, innovators and entrepreneurs are hard at work building a circular economy locally to stretch across America.
We're the first city in the U.S. to have an innovation center focused on the circular economy. We are working specifically starting with plastics and organics. Organics is one of the biggest issues for landfills. It comprises most of the waste that goes in there, and because it doesn't get air, it off-gasses methane.
Methane's 20 to 30 times more powerful of a greenhouse gas than CO2.
People need to recognize the importance of diverting food waste away from the landfills. They need to recognize the resources that can be conserved during the course of that process. We bring in about 500 tons of food waste at the moment a day. That's about 40 full truckloads, full tanker loads of food waste that come in here on a daily basis.
Nationwide, we throw away 103 million tons of food a year. That's over 30% of our food supply. For the average family, we waste $1,500 on food we don't eat. But back at Innovation Barn, the folks at Crowntown Compost are working to give organic waste a second life, and they mean that literally.
Probably about an inch beneath the surface of this food waste mixed with wood shavings in here are 10,000 black soldier fly larvae.
This is food waste directly from our customers. Take the buckets, we dump it in.
You put your hand down there, it's like noticeably warmer.
I feel it.
Yeah, so like the...
Oh my God, I see them.
Oh yeah, you see them.
Yeah, so this is actually in the composting process right now.
A black soldier fly composting operation eats a bunch of food waste, multiple times their body weight in food waste, and they're super attractive feed for chicken and fish versus like traditional compost with producing a soil amendment. It keeps a lot more of the nutrients and the actual mass in that cycle. Our average customer is generating like 10 pounds of food waste a week. Once you've kind of seen it, you can't go back.
Instead of it just going to the landfill, which is 100% wasteful, we can tap into multiple streams before we turn that into soil. So we can feed that to black soldier flies. We can run it through worms and then create soil at the end of that.
Eric really has a lot of expertise in raised bed, backyard farming. And so we thought, let's give people an opportunity to let us do this for them.
Putting in urban orchards with fruit trees, perennial vegetables.
It's a food forest, essentially.
Things that are relatively low maintenance, but come back year after year and provide food for families.
If all your neighbors do it, now you've got kind of a highway of food forest, and it's bringing pollinators back into the city and all that kind of good stuff.
Right, and they're all composting, right? So that food waste that they're generating from their backyard farm is being collected, fed to the black soldier fly, fed to the fish, and that compost is going right back to their backyards.
Composting food waste back into the soil to grow more food is a super efficient way to strengthen food security and reduce our impact on the climate. But what if our food waste could go even further? What if it could power our homes? Wasatch Resource Recovery in Salt Lake City, Utah is turning garbage into natural gas.
There are essentially 4 different types of feedstock that we bring into this facility. Fats, oils, and grease, source-separated organics from restaurants and grocery stores, kitchen scraps, as well as after-meal scraps, liquid food waste. And then lastly, we get containerized beverages. So that's the digester right there. It is like a giant stomach. It works much like a human digestion system. We have the same microorganisms in our bodies that we have in those digesters.
Great.
They break down that material in such a way that we're able to capture all of the gas that's produced in that process. When we're operating at full capacity, we'll be able to produce about 2,400 decatherms of renewable natural gas a day. And that's enough to provide natural gas needs to a community of about 30,000 people. Once the material moves through the digesters, we're able to capture it and turn it into a soil complement as well. It's high in nutrients. It's really valuable for agricultural property.
Doesn't smell great, but it works. It does the job.
For us, it smells like progress.
We were lucky to find a partner in Wasatch Resource Recovery. They really want our sugar water and our spent yeast. And we developed a really great symbiotic relationship where they have what we need and we have what they need. And it creates a wonderful, sustainable cycle.
Making beer requires a lot of inputs. You have to grow the grains, you have to transport those grains, you have to grow the hops, shipping. So if we focus on trying to minimize everything that we can, makes it just a little bit better.
So we're actually a certified zero waste facility, which means that about 99.8% of our waste is actually diverted from the landfill.
We did a wastewater challenge, took wastewater and treated it so it was potable again and pumped it into a tank and brewed a beer with it. It was kind of hard to get past to people saying, oh, so you made beer with toilet water? There's still a lot of stigma around it, even though the water was clean. The water tasted better than our tap water.
Brewers, because we're ultimately an extension of the agriculture industry, we have a very keen sense and sensitivity towards the energy we consume and giving back to production and agriculture. A few years ago, we found a really synergistic partner where they come by and take some of our spent grain and feed it to their cattle. After that cattle is butchered, it comes into our pub in the form of beef that we call beer-fed beef.
We use the spent grain after our brew process to make dog treats. I do events all over the state, and if I show up anywhere without dog treats, I'll get blasphemy. How could you? People want the dog treat so bad.
We replace 50% of our fossil fuel use with spent grain as our primary fuel.
When you can turn your waste into fuel, and you don't have to use diesel, that doesn't get any better than that.
Brewers aren't the only ones closing loops to build the circular economy. We're seeing it in the materials sector too, with everything from packaging to furniture to housing.
We really want to affect the way people recycle. Every municipality recycles differently. If there was some kind of baseline that everyone knew that you could absolutely recycle these 6 things and just these 6, we would probably do a lot better on recycling. During the pandemic, everyone started using takeout plastic containers. Daniel, who works with me, had this brilliant idea that we could take those takeout plastic containers and shred them and turn it into filament that you could make PPE. So you want to see the shredder/granulator? Yes. This is where the plastic goes in. So once it goes in, it shreds it, granulates it, goes down this tube, up into here, and flakes out over there. You want to shred some plastic? We had a glass crusher, so we crushed a bunch of wine bottles. There seemed to be a lot after COVID that were donated to us, so all from my house. But we crushed them, and so we have all these different sizes of sand. So we're doing an experiment right now to see if we can use it as an aggregate in concrete, and then we could actually create a whole business and jobs.
Carolina Urban Lumber is a company that revolves around making product from an urban waste log. In my mind, there's no reason why a sustainable, eco-conscious business can't be profitable. In my past life, in my career, I sold material lumber. I met a man who was building a casket from a tree that he planted when he was 5. I had a 2-hour drive home. I asked myself, what have I planted? I devised this plan or this business around that. How can I take a waste product and do something that's environmentally better? In a city, trees come down for many reasons. Because trees in cities don't meet the criteria of big mills, they become waste. And so we partner with probably 10 major tree services. Their waste product at the end of the day is our commodity. There is a circular nature to this, and we need to redesign where we plant and how we plant and what we plant. So the trees live longer, and when they're dead, we can use them.
Another innovative use for wood waste? Try 3D printing.
One common theme through all our research is using these types of materials that we call bio-based materials. We have a special type of 3D printer here that takes pellets and can convert them and print them in the standard 3D process. But the pellets we use can be made from lots of different kinds of materials. And we're trying to utilize resins that were derived from natural products and sort of get a 100% green biorenewable feedstock that can then be used for tooling or objects, houses, boat molds, etc.
Bio-based resins, where the resin is made from organic material, not from petroleum. When you bring those two together, then you're 3D printing, trees or whatever it comes from. So in that instance, it's fully bio-derived, fully recyclable. That's kind of the holy grail.
At the end of its life, it can completely compost, which is different than biodegrading. We don't want to create microplastic. We want to compost the end product so it just returns to nature in its original form. We're trying to mitigate any plastic waste going into the environment. We're also decreasing the energy and the amount of materials needed to build things that people still need, like housing.
We have a huge housing crisis, not only in Maine, but throughout the country. And if we can actually reduce the weight to near zero and use green materials to build these homes and make them very well insulated and deliver them faster to the population at the point of need, where people need them, that's where we're trying to go.
What we do matters. Each job matters a lot. It matters in the final outcome. It matters in the bigger scheme of humanity.
There is so much more that we can do to help eliminate waste altogether and ultimately use that waste in a way that allows us to produce things like renewable natural gas, electricity.
It's got to be a new way of living. We've got to treat our earth better. We need to reduce CO2. We have got to stop climate change.
And that's sort of what sustainability, the essence of it is if you take care of all those little 1% things, they do ultimately add up to be something big.